Going to take a look at adding Alfalfa into a map. I've actually put this together already. This is the most time consuming part, and I really don't have the time to go through all of this, unfortunately, in the video. I've gone through some of this when I did the hops video a little bit, creating your fill planes. I've done this many times in 17. It's very similar to what you would do, creating your different material holders. Just choose something from the in-game material holders that matches what you're trying to work with. So for the lucerne, I've gone with, or alfalfa, whichever way you want to call it, I've gone with grass because I want to have it where it regrows on its own and does the same or similar working effect to how grass works. I've created some HUDs. I just did a Google search for alfalfa icon or something like that and found these, so I've made this one a bit brighter and this one not so bright. So this one is the main product for the lucerne windrow, and then this one would be for the hay, and then we've got some distance textures here. These ones here I just took grass and hay and merged the two textures together in paint.net to give me something a little different for the dry lucerne. And then this one here I did the same, but I multiplied the textures as instead of adding the textures, but you know, you can possibly find some different textures. I may, if enough people ask, put this in my Google Drive and upload it for a short period of time so you can download this and work with this. I'll see how it goes. I've got some foliage textures I've put together. These actually are not my textures. I took these from a map in 15 and then converted them to work for 19. And then I took the LODs for canola because that matched the different growth stage pattern. The mapping of the growth stages matched the canola. So I just basically took the LODs for canola, and then from 3, 4 and 5 I edited those to show the different growth stages for the alfalfa, but 1 and 2 are exactly the same for canola because you can barely make out what that is, so it didn't really seem to matter to me that much. And then the normals are just still the same for canola. And then I've got some distance textures. These are from a map in 15, and again I've converted them to make them work for 19. The acre fine diffuse is from 19, but that will be shared across any kind of foliage you have in here. So if I have hops, let's say for example, and alfalfa, they would both use this same acre fine diffuse texture, but then the others would obviously be their individual textures for the appropriate foliage type. I've got some particle systems I've put together, cutter effect material holder, so it shows different effects when it's being cut with the mower and other equipment. Then I've got my effect material holder, which is for fill planes and unloading smoke particles and things like that. And then a few more different particle effects here that I think just add to the immersion. I've not made these myself, well, some of them, but they are just really basically in-game ones that I've tweaked to make them work for the alfalfa. So then we've got the density map height types XML for the tip on ground, because any windrow in 17 and now in 19 as well work around the tip on ground functionality. So we need to have some kind of setup there, and that's controlled by this density height types system, and some different file names and different textures and whatever else there for the different types of windrows. Fill types, so got some fill type converters so I can actually use a tedder on the lucerne windrow, so I can take the once I've mowed it and it gives me my lucerne windrow, I can then ted it to make dry lucerne windrow or hay, and all of the appropriate parts there for the fill types with their HUD files and whatever else. And then I've also got the type categories, what actually can hold or work with the lucerne and the lucerne windrow and dry lucerne windrow and various other different things. And also it's a sound file because I'm I've set this up with the hayloft. I want it to make some sort of sound. This is just a template, so it will just use the default template for the silo effect from the hayloft when I take the windrow back out again from there. Then we've got some fruit types, which again are, you know, the actual lucerne, and then their byproduct, the actual windrow, which is what we're going to be collecting once we've mowed it in our whatever fashion we choose to do that in. So, and then also I've got some conversion types down the bottom here. So forage harvester is going to mow the work in exactly the same way as the mower. I would then be able to take the lucerne and it would give me lucerne windrow. If you wanted to here, you could actually change that and then put in there chaff instead. So it would actually give you chaff, so you could then use the direct cutter header, this one, the direct cutter on your forage harvester, and then take the lucerne, and instead of giving you a windrow, it would then give you chaff if you prefer to do it that way. Whichever way works for you, doesn't really matter. And then again, we've got the mower, so the lucerne is then creating a lucerne windrow, so they both work in the same way. But to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter, because the way I would do this, I would possibly set up a way that I could use the windrow in a silage clamp. So I would be able to take the lucerne windrow, or dry lucerne windrow, put that in a silage clamp, which will automatically convert it to chaff anyway. So there would be no reason for me to have the capability of creating chaff in my forage harvester, only to then put it in a silage clamp anyway. Now obviously if you're going to be working with a non-customized silage clamp, then perhaps maybe that might be the way to go. You might want to have this convert to chaff already, so you don't have to try and make custom bunker silos and things like that, or custom BGAs or whatever else. But if you're going to go this far and start adding additional crops and whatever else, personally I think, you know, you're going to go the extra mile and then make your own customized bunker silos and all the other stuff as well. So, but whichever way works for you, you know, go with whatever works for you. So we've got all of those different parts in there. Now what I do want to do here, because I'm going to put this on Ravenport, I don't want it to say lucerne, I want it to say alfalfa, because to my understanding lucerne is what is referenced in the UK. Alfalfa is what it's called in America. To my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong on that. So I want to have this display alfalfa, not lucerne. And the way we do that is in our field types XML. We have the actual field type, but then we have the title of what it's going to be called in-game. So you can change this to call it whatever you want in here. So all I'm going to do in here is just change this to alfalfa, and that will then display that in-game, even though all of the field types and everything else are actually set up for lucerne and lucerne windrow. The actual in-game information is going to give me alfalfa instead, like so. And that's pretty much all you need to do there. Just change those titles, and that's what you'll see in game. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll just close that down. So if I actually just basically take all of this stuff, so if I open up the Ravenport sample mod map I've got here, I'm just going to copy all this stuff. I'm going to put it over here. I think that's fine. Doesn't really matter where we put it. So let's just take all of that and we'll copy it directly over to there like so, because I want to keep this as my backup. And then it's just a case of joining all the parts together to tell it where it is. So what we're going to do then is open up the map 0, well in this case map US i3D, and I'm going to load in the actual XML through a file ID and some other parts in here like I did with the hops. So I'm going to go Control F and I'm going to do a search for materials, and we'll just scroll down to the bottom here. So I'm going to make a new line. Doesn't really matter which one we copy because we're going to rename everything anyway. So I'll paste that into there. Now this here must match what you've got set up for your actual field type, not the title but the actual field type name. So again, in my case this is lucerne. so I need to type that in there. If I put Alfalfa in here, it won't work, because it all needs to match across the board. So I've got my Lucerne in there, and then what I'm going to do is just add in 3 zeros on the end of there, like so. So this number here will be much higher than anything I've got already in the i3D file. So then what I'm going to do is search for 310, because that's the file ID for the Bush US01, and that will get me in the right place for a one I want to be. So I'm going to do backward direction, match whole word only, and I'm just going to go find next until it gets me to where I want to be, and then I can just do like so, make a new line, copy that one, paste that one into there, and then put my 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3 on the end of there, and then I need to just tell it where that XML is. So I'm going to go dot dot slash, whoops, I don't need the extra slash, sorry. So it will be dot dot slash, and then foliage, because I'm back a folder from where my i3D is to here, and then foliage, and then this is Lucerne XML. So if I actually just take the name from there, like so, and then overwrite the Bush US01, so it will find my foliage folder, find that XML, and then load all the appropriate parts in as required. So I can go ahead and save that. We'll close that down. To test this out, really straightforward, just open the map up in Giants Editor, and it will load all of the parts required directly from that XML, so we no longer have to add in all of the layers directly into the i3D. It's loaded into the i3D or into the map through the XML, and then certain distance channels are added into the map 01 or map US or whatever it might be called automatically. So we go into here, terrain editing, and if so far everything is working, we can come down to here and we have nothing. So it's possible I've made an error, which is not unlikely. Failed to load terrain foliage layer Lucerne. Okay, it's possible I put too many zeros on the end of that thingy there. I'm trying to do this so quick, and I shouldn't do it so damn quickly. That's the problem. Yeah, too many zeros. So it's just, I end up only putting 2 zeros. Okay, that's fine. Easy fix. Right, let's get rid of one of those zeros. There we go. That should be fine now. Let's do this again then. Right, so let's see what we have this time then. And there we go, we have our Lucerne. So obviously it's going to be called Lucerne here in the Giants editor, but the title itself from the XML in-game will be displayed as Alfalfa. So if we come around to somewhere here and terrain foliage paint mode, let me make my brush a bit bigger so we can choose the drop down. Stage 1 is our acre define diffuse, which is why we need that. If we come right out, you can see that's changed. That's our acre define diffuse channel. And then we have stage 2, like so, when it catches up. There we go. And that's our first growth stage and our distance channel there. And then stage 3, stage 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 will be cut short, like so. So that's all of our different channels and their different distance channels, and whatever else. I think they look pretty good. I've seen some different textures for the Alfalfa, and some of them seem to look like canola, which have just been turned into green. You know, somebody stuck the canola textures in paint.net and made them green. But I really like this kind of setup. When you look across the fields in the game and you have this field covered in flowers like this, or even this, just makes it look so much better in my opinion. So we have that now working in there. Fantastic. So we close that down and then I'll reopen it again now that I know everything is working, and I can go ahead and save the i3D and update, rejiggle everything in the i3D, update it, add in the new foliage distance textures and whatever else that it needs to do to set up the correct mapping and whatever else, and then we can move on to the next part. Okay, so next thing we need to do then is tell the game where all of these new XMLs have come from, and all of our material holders and whatever else. At the moment the game has no idea where they are and if they even exist, so that's obviously not going to do much good for us. So what we have here is density map, height types XML, field types XML, and fruit types XML. I may do bales as well, but that's still broken even in version 1.3. The file name for the actual bales is broken. You still need to have the full length file name, so C:/ etc, etc. It won't find them otherwise. Hopefully that will be fixed very soon. We'll see how that goes. But let's have a look at map US, in this case XML, whatever yours is going to be on your map, and we need to add in our additional files for our material holders. I like to keep the material holders named the same as the in-game ones. It just makes it easier because I can literally just copy them, the actual information, directly from the Giant setup and just change the path file name to whatever I've got. So I've got particle material holder, effect material holder, cutter effect material holder, and fill plane material holder. So I can just literally copy all of those lines like so. We'll just put a space in between them, or so, like that, and then all I need to do then is mine are in my root folder here, so I don't need to have any kind of long file names. So all I can do here is particle systems, get rid of the $data at the end here, like so, because I've got fill planes and then my fill plane material holder, and particle systems is where everything else is contained. So I've got my cutter effect material holder, and particle material holder all in the same place. So those file names are now set correctly, so I can go ahead and save that. Then the next thing we need to look at is the actual XMLs. So we're in the right place to do that, in the actual map XML. So we've got these ones here which are already in the actual XML, but they're deactivated. So we just need to reactivate those and then change the file name again. So I'm just going to delete all of these parts here like this. For don't want sprayer types, fruit types. So we'll do that one. And then also the density map height types. So let's do that and that. I think that's all of them. With bale types we may come back to later on. So I've got fill types, fruit types, and density map height types. And all again I need to do here is just remove the $data stuff. And the maps as well. Yes, the maps as well. So I need to get rid of all of that, and that, and that. Because again, these are in my root folder, so there's nowhere they don't need to go any further than that. So I've now got all of those file names set up correctly as well. Go ahead and save. Fantastic. So I've now linked all of those parts where they need to be. I'm just trying to think the next part. Now when you start looking at cell points and things like that, you're going to need to work with what cell points you've got in the map already. This is obviously a Ravenport map, so for me I'm going to go into the default items XML here, and I would look for whatever selling station I wanted to actually customize. In my case, I'm going to work with this one here, selling station Bales. But I'm going to need to make my own XML, my own customized XML. So what I need to do is find where that's located. So it's placeables, map US, selling station Bales, and then selling station Bales. So I'm going to go into the installation folder here. Yours will be different, I would imagine. Placeables, map US, and I want selling station Bales. I'm going to take the XML from here. Then I'm going to create a new folder. So I'm going to go into my maps folder here. I'll create a new folder, and I'm just going to call this sell points. That'll be fine. And I'm going to paste that into there like so. Let's close that one down. So the next thing I need to do then is basically edit this to tell it that I want to add in the additional field types. So I'm going to make a couple lines here, and we'll just let's take this one because it has the win row already on it. So I'm going to take that one and add in my Lucent underscore win row field type name. I'm going to paste the next one in, and then for me this is going to be dry. Oops. Good Lord, I can't spell again. What's gone on? That's it. Dry Lucent underscore win row. Now I will be able to basically sell my bales and my loose product, my loose win row, at these particular sell points if I choose to do the bales. So I go ahead and save that one. We'll close that down. But what I need to do now is tell this to look at that XML and not the in-game one, because at the moment it's pointing to the installation folder. So I need to tell this to look in my map directory and then look in my folder setup. So for me this is going to be, let's have a look. This is going to be $map dir $ / so it's in my map directory, maps, sell points. So I want maps / sell points, and then my selling station Bales. Everything else there is going to be exactly the same, but it's just that file name that needs to be adjusted so it looks in the right folder structure here for my XML with the adjusted field types. And I can go ahead and save that, and then we'll close that one down. So I think we're getting very, very close now